be honest, I didn't see either one of these happening, Teddy. I knew that Etowah was going to probably face one of the toughest teams that they had faced all year in Clay Central, but I sure as heck didn't think that they would fall to the Volunteers tonight. And then Deschler over Hoax Bluff 20-14 tonight in Class 4A. You know, two great seasons for two really good teams in Etowah County. Really thought that, you know, personally I thought that they really had a chance to go to Auburn and play for a state championship, but they just come a little bit short.
Yeah, you know, I don't really know what happened in each game yet. I was at 5 tonight in terms of details, but the Etowah score really catches my eye. That one really does shock me in terms of what happened there. Let's
run down some of the scores. In Class 7A, they had the semifinal games, so that championship match is already set. Central Phoenix City beat Lee of Montgomery 34-27, and Thompson over Hoover 31-28. In Class 6A, Saraland over Opelika 24-19, Wetumpka over Spanish Fort 21-17, Pinson Valley 48, Homewood 7, and then Clay Chalkville 45-9 over Oxford. Then in Class 5A, Greenville over Ramsey 27-13, Viger over Demopolis 27-7, Central Clay over Etowah 35-13, and Mortimer Jordan over Jasper 41-21. Besides,
Patrick says penalties and no offense. Sad to see from Etowah. Daniel says running the same play 30-plus times, caught up with Etowah tonight. Our great defense couldn't save us tonight. Thank you guys for joining us, and I'm sure we'll get to the Etowah game in detail here in a bit.
Yeah. Besides the Etowah, any others jump out at you as kind of being a surprise just in those first three classifications?
Well, I guess it's not really a surprise because of how good Thompson is, but anytime you see Class 7A state championship and you don't say the name Hoover, it is kind of weird, I guess, you know, because they're always there. So that one you jumps off. Like I said, not a surprise, but just kind of out of the normalcy of what we are accustomed to. So I guess I'd have to say that one.
Then in Class 4A, Deschler over Hoax Bluff 20-14. Aniana moves on to the state semifinals for the first time since 2013. They beat Good Hope 29-8, UMS Wright 21, American Christian 19, Andalusia over Hillcrest Evergreen 28-21. In Class 3A, Flomaton over Pike County 12-10, Providence Christian 23-20 over Gordo, Piedmont over Westminster Christian 27-26, and then Sachs over Randolph County 19-8. So it's want to double check that score because I thought that Randolph County beat Sachs.
They did. Randolph County did beat Sachs.
Okay, all right. So I believe that is incorrect. Randolph County beat Sachs 19-8.
It's because Piedmont will host Randolph County next week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So raise your hand, by the way. I know this is going back to Class 4A. If you had Aniana as the only team remaining out of Hoax Bluff's region.
Not after Hoax Bluff beat them, what was it, 49-9 or something like that, about 4 or 5 weeks ago.
How crazy can playoffs get? I mean, what a run for Aniana. I mean, to make it to the semifinals.
Yeah.
You know, Hoax Bluff got to be kicking themselves a little bit because, you know, they're definitely a big favorite in that game. They've already beat them once. Probably wouldn't be that easy again, but I'm sure they would have loved to have found out.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Aniana is back in the semifinals for the first time since 2013. And a matter of fact, in 2013, they ended up topping Charles Henderson for the state championship that year. That was their first of 3 straight state championship appearances by Aniana. So maybe a little bit of a repeat of history coming up?
Certainly on a good path right now. You know, I mean, sitting in the semifinals, I don't know anybody outside of Aniana that saw that even coming.
No.
Much less called it. So.
No, not at all. Class 2A, Luverne over Leroy, 26-7. Highland Home over Ayrton, 28-14. Fife over Ohatchee, 21-13. And then Aliceville over Addison, 38-22. And then in Class 1A, Maplesville beat Lynette 29-6. Linden over St. Luke's 44-43. Mars Hill Bible 41, South Lamar 27, and Pickens County 13-0 over Spring Garden. So the semifinal matchups are set. Maplesville goes to Linden. Pickens County goes to Mars Hill Bible. They're in Florence. Luverne, the Battle of Crenshaw County. Luverne will go to Highland Home. And then Aliceville goes to Fife. Providence Christian goes to Flomaton. And Randolph County comes to Piedmont in that region matchup, which we both called.
Yeah, I think most people called that when that region was just so loaded. It'd have been shocking to have anything other than two of those teams facing off for the right to go to Auburn.
Yep. Class 4A Andalusia goes to UMS Wright. They're in Mobile. Aniana goes to Deschler and Tuscumbia. Viger goes to Greenville, and Clay Central goes back on the road. They go to the big city of Kimberly to face Mortimer Jordan. Saraland goes to Wetumpka, and Clay Chalkville goes to Pinson Valley. And then, of course, in Class 7A, later on in a couple weeks, will be Central Phoenix City versus Thompson for the 7A championship.
I don't have to say it. Patrick did. He said Lynette goes down. Said Wednesday it'd be closer.
Yep, you're right. You both were. This was the one game that honestly I looked at and thought if anybody could beat Lynette, it would be Maplesville. Just knowing Maplesville and their coaching staff and the folks there, it's a tremendous community when it comes to football. So if anybody was going to beat Lynette, it would be Maplesville.
Yeah, that one. I thought Maplesville would play them close. I didn't think Maplesville would win 29-6.
No.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. So
yeah, that is pretty crazy. Linden, that Linden Maplesville matchup. That's to me, that's state championship game material right there. I think it doesn't matter who comes out of that north region, whether it's Mars Hill or Pickens County, that Maplesville-Linden game, that's actually your Class 1A championship game right there, and that's going to be next week. Like I said, the battle for Crenshaw County, Laverne, and Highland Home, we did some digging, and it's been a long time since Highland Home has been this far in the playoffs. As a matter of fact, the last time that Highland Home was in the playoffs and this deep in the playoffs, they played Luverne.
Wow.
And lost. And so maybe the Flying Squadron can maybe correct a few things there. So then, of course, Fife will be at home against Aliceville in the semifinals there. And so Class 1A, Class 2A, all set up. Class 3A, Providence Christian is just rolling right now, the team out of Dothan, and then to face Flomaton. There again, to me, I think the northern region is much more stronger than the south region is, and I think whomever wins between Randolph County and Piedmont, you just go ahead and give them the blue trophy and get it over with.
I will say I was at that Piedmont-Randolph County game last year, one of the best games I've ever covered. If it's anything remotely even close to that, I suggest you got to Piedmont because that game, that's one I'll never forget. It was an incredible game.
Any other comments from our folks?
Kathy asked what the final score was, but Daniel took care of us. Etowah did fall to Clay Central 35-13. Patrick says, hearsay is Justin Harris will miss basketball season with shoulder surgery, just what he's heard. And Daniel said he's heard the same. And that's a big blow for the hoops team over at Etowah. Wow. But, yeah. He's got to do what's best for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vanderbilt commit, he's got to take care of himself.
Yep.
Obviously that does hurt that Blue Devil basketball team, but, he's got some, bigger things on the horizon for himself.
Much
bigger. If that is true, that's something he's got to do.
Yep.
So I guess it is officially basketball season at Etowah County.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I've covered a few myself already before Thanksgiving. So, but I've gotten a few glimpses at at a few of our teams just in and around our area. I've seen Gadsden City play a few times. They played in the N2 Hoops tournament there up at Bob Jones and ended up coming in 5th place. They won a really big overtime. They had a big overtime win over Decatur Heritage. And Decatur Heritage, you know, okay, yeah, they are a 1A school, but they are probably one of the more talented 1A schools in the state. And so they've got a couple really tremendous ball players and gave Gadsden City all that they could handle. You know, Gadsden City, a very small basketball team. When you look at them just across the bench, they look like a bunch of guards. Mm-hmm. And basically they are. You know, there's a bunch of guards and maybe 1 or 2 forwards. But Coach Reginald Huff is thinking that he's going to have maybe a couple more bodies join them after the Christmas break. Once they get I imagine they got to get their grades in order and things like that. So, but yeah, basketball season is going to be in full swing starting this week. Matter of fact, Gadsden goes to Arab on Monday night. So boys and girls, mind you. And like I said, a number of our schools, Glencoe, Westbrook Christian, West End, all those folks have already about a week in already. So,
yeah, Patrick says Etowah State champions in basketball? Question mark.
If they're going to play without Justin Harris, I don't know, because Harris brings a lot of good defense for them. He's a stopper for them. He was a big-time stopper for them on their way to the Northeast Regional Final last year when they lost to Talladega. So if Harris is not there, then that's a key piece in terms of defensively that Etowah is going to miss. So still a lot of great talent on that basketball team. So, you know, just time will tell.
And Elizabeth says she feels like they should be able to get there, fingers crossed. And Daniel said he thinks they can make a run, that being Etowah basketball this year, at least make it to the regional finals at JSU because they returned so much from that team, as you mentioned. So we got a lot of good basketball around this
really
area. And so I know it's kind of turned into a basketball show in the last few minutes right here on the Gadsden Times Football Review, but like I said, it is. I guess it's officially full-on basketball season.
Yeah, so. It really is. Just to look at some more of the matchups there, looking ahead, Class 5A, you know, Viger at Greenville and then Clay Central at Mortimer Jordan. Yeah, the one thing that stuck out to me, and I mentioned this earlier this week, is a Danny Horn coached football team. When they come at you hard. They're going to pound it at you, and that's exactly what happened tonight, is that Clay Central just hit Etowah square in the mouth and just kept hitting him square in the mouth. And they were on their heels, really, from the first quarter on.
Mm-hmm. And Patrick mentioned earlier in the show, penalties and no offense. Sad to see from Etowah.
Yeah, penalties were huge. There was a couple times where the penalties were there were so many penalties. In one specific instance, when right after Clay scored, they ended up kicking off from Etowah's 35-yard line because they got hit with a personal foul and then a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. So that's 30 yards right there, automatic. And so rather than just try to sky kick it or anything like that, you know, Danny knows what's best. Onside kick, let's try it. Let's see if we can get the ball, you know, and score a quick touchdown again. But needless to say, you know, Etowah got the kick. Matter of fact, I want to say DeRicky Wright came up with that onside kick recovery. But you know, being down 14-0 at the half, I really thought that Etowah still was in the game, but they really had to come out in the second half and do something in order to gain control of that game, because from that first half, it was all Clay Central.
All right. Daniel's taking it all the way to the spring here. He said he's interested to see what Brandon Johnson can do for Etowah as a new baseball coach in February.
Wow.
Thinking ahead here, Daniel. I like it. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get in basketball focus here. You're bringing up baseball, so you just kind of made my head explode. But that is a good point. Coach Larry Foster, retiring in this past off season, so we'll see what Etowah can do. That's the thing about Etowah. I mean, they're just talented at so many different sports. So
yeah,
it should be a good school year for over in Attala.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Patrick said, if I'm not mistaken, 10 personal fouls and 14 unsportsmanlike penalties. Don't hold me to that, but I think that's what he heard. That's what he said. So
wow.
That's not going to win you a playoff.
I know it was well over 100 yards of penalties for the game. It may have been closer to 150. It just disappointing to see. But like I said, you've got to play sound football when you play against a Danny Horn coach football team. And I want to say Patrick's making a mention, that maybe Clay Central will end up winning it all. I don't know. Clay Central versus Viger for the championship, I think that's a definite, Patrick, but I just don't know whether they have got enough weapons to do it. Now, if they do what they did to Etowah, then yeah, they're going to end up winning it. But to me, it just seemed like Etowah just decided all they had to do was just show up and win the ball game. And I think they came in a little bit too overconfident. I think that they ended up enjoying a little bit too much of the rat poison, if you will, to take a verse from Nick Saban
and Coach Rob. Coach Rob has actually said that to me before. So,
so I think maybe they read a little bit too much of the news clips and thought, hey, all we got to do is just show up and win. And that's just not the case. I mean, when you're this deep into the playoffs, these teams are not there just by the luck. There's no fluke here. They're here because they're good football teams. And if you don't come ready to play, then you're going to get whipped. And that's exactly what happened tonight.
I think this got also brought up Wednesday, but Patrick said, just to throw this out there, do y'all feel like maybe having a week off of school will hurt Etowah?
There again, like I said, to me, it depends upon how you manage that week. As a football coach, did you keep the same routine and have your kids practice at the same time? Did you do the same drills? Did you do the same things? Or did you go outside of the norm and practice early in the morning? Did you do some other things? Yeah, I know you took a day off for Turkey Day and this, that, and the other thing. To me, I have a feeling that routine got knocked out of whack, and that will end up and come back to bite you sometimes.
I'm not sure exactly if Clay Central got the whole entire week off, but I mean, it's not, they face the same issues at least for a few days.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's kind of, I guess it just depends on how you look at it. Maybe one team handled it better than the other. I mean, maybe Central Clay just completely outplayed them today.
I think they outplayed them, but I think this is the first time that I've really seen a team want it more than Etowah did. Clay Central came in and they wanted it more, and they took it.
I mean, quarterfinals, Etowah was 12-0 heading into this game, but, you lose one, you're done. So that's right. Just how it works. That's playoff football for you. I know we're up in 5A, but I do want to mention the Fife game I was at real quick, if we don't mind. Fife they were without running back Peyton Anderson. We know how good he is.
Wow.
They were also without their leading tackler on defense, and they still beat Ohatchee 21-13.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about sound football, that's what Fife and Ohatchee. I want to give Ohatchee credit now. I know we really didn't give them too much of a chance against Fife tonight. Ohatchee played really good football. Yeah. If they catch a couple of passes they dropped and just wide open passes they just could not catch, and it was cold and windy out there tonight, it could have been a different ball game. But Fife caught some breaks, and they I'm gonna say Ohatchee finished with 3 turnovers, 2 of those touchdowns came off turnovers, gave them short fields. Five took advantage of that. And their quarterback, he's just a freshman. He was able to step up and provide 93 yards of offense, and just typical 5 football. And it was just a great football game, seeing two teams just playing smash mouth ball at each other. So
and let me stop you right there. He's a freshman quarterback.
Yeah. And then it was
freshman.
Yeah. They put a lot on his back tonight,
Wow.
I mean, and he answered the call. So,
wow.
You know, huge win for Fife tonight. Obviously, they're hoping to get some of those guys back next week. Not really sure yet. So, but man, when you're without your top offensive and defensive player, and you can still pull out a win against an undefeated team, that's impressive.
Well, and like I said, you've got a freshman quarterback executing for you and doing the things that he is doing. You know, how much credit do you give to an offensive line, and how much credit do you give to your coaching staff?
Right. I mean, Paul Benefield. I mean, Coach Paul Benefield over at Fife. I mean, he's done this a lot. I mean, he wins a lot of ball games. You know, credit to those guys. It's kind of like we mentioned before. You know, even if they didn't have Peyton Anderson in the game, we knew they were going to be able to put other guys in there, and they're going to be able to produce. Obviously, not as much as they would have liked, but
yeah.
I mean, but they got the win. That's all that matters. Etowah quarterback Brady Troop comments. Got whipped, no excuses. I mean, I respect that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a tough loss for Etowah, and no excuses from Brady Troop. He's going to be able to lead this team here in the future for the next few years. He's got a promising future, and I really I respect that comment. And
I
no
do too.
excuses from him. I like that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's just one of those instances where, you know, you just in watching the football game tonight, I just, you know, I felt bad for some of these guys, because I'm like, my God, you know, you're just getting out there, you're out there, and you're just physically getting whipped on both sides of the ball, and there's not a whole lot, you know, from a coaching standpoint, there's not a whole lot your coaching staff can do to help you. You know, it's that want to and the drive to come back and bounce back. You know, there was a targeting penalty against that was called against Clay Central, and you know, Trent Davis came back, and that kid was mad, and when I saw how mad he was on that penalty, you know, he got hit. He got popped pretty hard. He took one play off, and he was ready to get right back into that ball game. And I had never seen a running back run with as much anger and as much drive in quite some time. And I mean, sometimes it's those things that you need in order to really get into the game.
Right. Just tough way to end the season for Etowah County Schools. I don't know if we really talked much detail about Hokes Bluff yet, but it seemed like it was kind of a weird play to end that first half that really seemed to be the difference maker.
Yeah.
I want to say, was it the punt where maybe it was a bad snap and ended up being a pick six of all things.
Of all things, a bad snap on a punt that turns into a pick six. Now, you know, Hokes Bluff, 4 turnovers. You know, this deep into the playoffs, you can't turn the ball over. You turn it over 4 times, and 3 of those 4 times end up being turned into touchdowns by Deschler. You know, Deschler, you know, we saw that record of theirs, but then, too, we also saw who Deschler had played. Yeah. And they didn't play any pushover teams by any stretch of the imagination. So we knew that Deschler was going to give Hokes Bluff all they wanted. But when you turn the ball over 4 times and 3 of those get turned into touchdowns, it's hard to win.
Especially at this point in the year. I mean, and Deschler's, like you said, 7-5 heading into this one, and you know, they played North Jackson last week, who was undefeated. But you look at both of the schedules, and you know, Deschler's played some folks, and North Jackson just had not. And you know, and another thing I kind of brought up Wednesday, and I'm not sure if this has been a factor or not. I wasn't there, but it's not too hard, you know, to get the kids up for against a team that's undefeated, and then you answer that call going against a team that's 7-5. You know, is it hard to get up for that game? I don't know. You know, I know that's probably tough for the coaching staff.
There again, you know, those records As far as any of those records you look at, whether you're 12-0 or 7-5, when you're that deep into the playoffs,
and you don't accidentally
those
make the
records
quarterfinals.
make absolutely they don't mean a thing. They don't mean a hill of beans, because at that point you're actually 3-0.
Yeah.
You're undefeated. That's the only record that matters. Next week, the only record that's going to matter for these semifinal teams is being 4-0 in the playoffs.
Let me tell you something that's pretty crazy. I see you have Mead's stats right there: 25 carries, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that's an off night for that kid.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Yeah,
what a great running back he is.
Yeah.
I mean, they were able to hold him in check, I guess you could say, for what he normally does.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah, this was his lowest offensive rushing performance of the year. Up until tonight, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember right, I think his lowest output was 143 yards until tonight. So then he gets held to 103. So.
He gets held to 103.
Yeah.
How crazy is it to say that?
I know.
I mean, we got so many good backs in this county, and he's amongst the best for sure. And we just have good football teams here. I mean, Hokes Bluff, Etowah, I think it's only fitting that they were the last two left.
Yeah.
They spent all season long, both of them ranked in the top 5 pretty much all year long. I think Hokes Bluff might have dropped out a little bit in the top 5. If I could be wrong, but anyways, still, I mean, both highly up there, and now it's basketball time.
Yeah, definitely basketball time, and tonight will be the last night that we do the Gadsden Times football review, but we will be back. We'll be doing basketball reviews, and kind of basically not. We'll try to be back with you, say, once a week or so, just to kind of rehash things that have gone on during the basketball season over the week, because there are so many games that are played during the week. I mean, it seems like basketball's played every day of the week except for Sunday and Wednesday.
Right.
So there's a number of games that will be going on, and then, of course, a number of teams that will finally be at full power. Like I said, Etowah hasn't even started their basketball season yet, because a majority of their basketball players were playing tonight. So,
well, I got you a date to have your calendar marked, as long as the game is still as scheduled as what I saw on both team schedules.
Yeah.
And let's see, December 7th, which is now, since it's Saturday, technically 13 days away, Etowah and Gadsden City will be meeting on the basketball court.
Wow.
And that's the first time they've met in a number of years, too. I'm glad to see these two teams back playing.
That's
tremendous. It needs to be happening
Yep.
and across multiple sports, especially these two sports. I'm glad to see it. And that should be another fun game between two of the bigger schools in this county.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we segue out of here, I'm going to put you on the spot, Teddy. Who's the Etowah County Coach of the Year?
In football.
In football.
For me, I mean, just off the top of my head, I have to go Southside Coach Ron Doherty for sure. I mean, from sitting where they were at 1-4 to making the second round of the playoffs, and I know they lost, was it 41-14 or whatever it was against Jasper, and I know it's coulda, woulda, shoulda, but they wouldn't have lost that score. They wouldn't have lost like that if that field wasn't in that condition. I still think they would have failed.
Yeah.
But to answer back the way they did shows a lot about not just those kids, but the coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the kids responded. They could have easily said, you know what, we're 1-4, we're done.
Yeah.
Let's just go ahead and pack the bags and get ready for basketball.
Sure.
They didn't do that.
Yeah. I mean, you could make a strong case for him. I think, even with the talent that Etowah and Hokes Bluff has on their teams, you could also make a case for Coach Mike Robertson. You could make a case for Coach Drew Knowles as well for Coach of the Year. So, we've got a few things to hash out, because later on in December we'll come out with with the Gadsden Times All County team. Maybe we'll come back to everybody and go on Facebook Live and maybe even rehash the all-county team.
That'd be a
Just
good
kinda
idea.
announce it and maybe see if we can't get a few players to come join us too.
That'd be fun. That's
You
a
know?
good idea.
So just something to think about.
Patrick has a good suggestion. Who's a Christian coach of Andrew Woods?
That's another one. I mean,
It's a good problem to have good
3
choices.
years in a row, you have made it to the playoffs, and then you end up, hey, yeah, you're right, Patrick.
That's not a bad choice at all.
No, not at all.
And then Patrick says, Meade's 4A back a year, question mark.
Ooh, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I'll be interested to see. When we go to all-state meetings here, and it'll probably be in the next week or so, that we'll have all-state meetings with the rest of the sports writers from around the state. I'll be interested to see the statistics of some of the other backs. There's some really fine backs in Class 4A. And for Meads to be one of the finalists, I'd have to make a strong case for him. Will he be the 4A back of the year? We'll just have to wait and see.
That's a good thing to have, I think, with these coaches we're talking about, to have so many options. And then, Meads being 4A back of the year. I mean, there's a lot of good talent. Came in a little earlier than we all thought, but. We thank all you for joining us all year long on the Gadsden Times Football Review and on our preview show that we have on Wednesday nights. It's been fun. We hope you've enjoyed it. And like Kevin said, we will come back at some point for basketball. We're not exactly sure yet when we're going to start that up, but we'll definitely let you know on our Facebook, and we'll tweet it out and everything and let all you know. But we hope you join us for that too. If you have any ideas that you would like to see us do, let us know. And I can't wait to get back started for basketball. I really do enjoy this. We both do. It's a lot of fun. We love to interact with all of you, and we hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's been a tremendous football season. To me, it seems like just yesterday we were doing our first show, and
talking about Gadsden City Etowah, that first game.
Right.
It does seem like that was just just a few weeks ago. It's crazy how much time flies.
And I really have to applaud everybody who has been out and supported your community teams. I've been to a number of your facilities and seen your teams play, and to see the support that you give these young men, you deserve a pat on the back. You deserve to be applauded because you are supporting your communities. High school football, there are so many different things for kids to do or families to do. It's not the 1970s, it's not the 1960s where an entire town just shuts down and goes to the football game. They don't do that anymore, or there's very few, should I say. But to see the support by the communities and to get behind these kids, that is tremendous, and I really hope it continues.
Absolutely. And then Patrick says, Dericky Wright, defensive player of the county, question mark. Not a bad choice, and that's one. If we got to talking about who could possibly be defensive player of the year, we would be here all night long.
Yeah, we were absolutely.
And then that's just talking about off Etowah's defense, because my goodness, that we know how loaded they are. So a lot of good choices for defensive player of the year, offensive player of the year, and then coach of the year. So I think Kevin had a good idea in terms of us coming on here and talking about the team and maybe releasing it that way. That's a really cool idea. So we may end up doing that. We're definitely going to see you for basketball. We thank you for joining us all season long for the Gadsden Times Football Review. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Our time is out. We thank you for yours.